Well, hello, Nick. Thank you very much for just spending your time with us. It's always appreciated. When I was doing my gentle stalking of you and your company and what you're all about, I love just the career pivot from being a chef and being in the catering business for 20 plus years into We Love Junk. How did that even start? Like, what's the story behind that?
So interesting. So COVID came along and we ended up closing the catering business. And I had known that I did not want to stay in the food industry. It's just taxing on the mind, on the body. And so it was really difficult for me to figure out what am I going to do because I have two kids in high school getting ready to go to college, and I wasn't just going to sit around waiting for something to happen. I had to make it happen. So what I decided to do was, look at some different industries and see the skill sets that I had and what I could bring to, another industry and make an impact. And I had met some guys that I during COVID I refinished my kitchen because I had a lot of time on my hands. So when I demoed it, I needed to get rid of the demo degree, so I didn't know how to do that. I knew nothing about junk removal. The only thing I knew about junk removal was maybe a commercial for like, you know.
Right?
So I ended up calling a junk removal company. The guys came out, hauled everything away, and then I had them come back a few other times. And so we became friendly, and they kind of knew what was going on in regards to the catering business. And at that point, I said, I'm going to end up closing it. It's just not going to
Mm.
happen. And they were like, oh, dude, you should get into the junk removal business. And I'm like, really? I said, well, tell me about it because I know nothing about it. So they kind of explained to me, about the business and the place they worked and how the industry is growing. So that had my mind going that night. I'm Googling away and I'm like, wow, this sounds fascinating. And I decided to jump in and that's how it started.
That is so interesting. So what fascinated you about the junk removal industry? Like, what is it about? I don't really know much about it besides if I have my shed, I know
Yeah,
what I need to call to get rid of new stuff.
right, exactly. So the thing I love about it, what is so fascinating to me, is the stuff that you come across. I love the people, the customers.
Mm.
Everybody's got a unique story. And, I think from the outside, people look at it and be like, oh, you're just hauling people's trash away. But it's much more than that. You're helping people, and there could be various scenarios, whether it's somebody who's moving or downsizing and they have a ton of stuff. It's not junk, it's people's possessions. Okay, so that's where I think people, you know, had that misconception of you're taking everything and throwing it out, which is
Mm.
completely not what we do. And people are so appreciative of the work and the service that we provide them, and I love that. I truly love that. And the other aspect about it that I love is my employees and the people that I work with. And it's not a high skilled profession and allows me to create a lot of opportunities for people who may have not, you know, have many opportunities. It could be somebody who, spent a little time in jail because they, were on the streets a little bit. Nothing, serious like, robbery or murder or anything like that, like little. So I like to provide people an opportunity and give them the chance to turn their life around. And what I really try to do is to get them to change their outlook on life, the way they approach things, the way they speak to people, the way they present themselves. And it's great for my business because we're a customer service based business. And where I learned that was 20 years of the hospitality industry. Those are the things that I love about it because it's also an industry that's not customer service oriented
Mm.
in general. That's the approach that we take, and that's what makes us successful.
That is so, there's so many things there that I was just even before this call, really interested in wanting to talk to you about,
Sure.
because as getting back to your talk about the employees and making that opportunity, I remember I wrote it down. You had said one of the things you wanted to talk about was that everyone deserves a second chance at making opportunities for people. And I just thought that was such a loaded, poignant take.
Mhm.
And so I mean, now that you're saying that you wanted to build these opportunities for people who come from the prison system, who have different backgrounds, to give them a second chance. I mean, I see how it like has directly applied for you in your industry, but just in general, like how do you feel, what do you feel the impact of that is to be able to give someone a second chance?
Well, I mean, I really think that for a lot of people, it can be life changing for them because some of these people, maybe the environment that they grew up in, maybe they didn't have a father figure in the home or nobody to look up to, and a lot of these guys are younger guys, between 19 and 25, and I almost try to take on not that fatherly role, but to try to guide them and to get them to have a different perspective from little things. Like before they go to a job, they always call the customer, and I
Hmm.
tell them, when you're talking to the customer, smile while you're talking, because people can tell if you're in a bad mood or if you're smiling.
Mhm.
And a lot of people judge a book by its cover. So if you walk into somebody's house and you got the stone cold face on and whatever, it could be intimidating. But if you come in, you've already made a phone call to them, they see you, you're smiling, people treat you different as opposed to maybe the way you regularly carry yourself. So a lot of them have come to me and said, wow, like, it's really amazing the way people interact with you when you have that positiveness. And it's so true.
I hear the mentorship that you're giving them, like just even in the way you're describing. Like I know you said you didn't want it to sound like a fatherly figure, but I can hear the way that you're guiding them, and it's honestly really sweet. Have you in your career, or can you remember a mentor that's helped guide you, especially when you were in the beginning of your career?
I would say that my father,
Ah.
my father, he grew up, he was from a very, very poor family. Um, I remember one story that he had told me that he joined the Cub Scouts when he was a kid, and they were going on a camping trip. His parents couldn't afford a sleeping bag, so what my grandmother did was she would, crochet. So she crocheted two blankets together and connected them. And he had gone. And he said, "I'll never forget the scoutmaster saying, 'Can't believe these poor kids. They can't even bring a sleeping bag. What happens if they're bringing a
Mm.
like, you don't do that to
Yeah.
somebody, right?" Throughout his life, he had a lot of those struggles as a young person, and he's a very, very hard worker. He ended up going to college and a football scholarship, which he never would have been able to do if he didn't have the football. And he ended up going to law school and becoming an attorney and moving to Venezuela, where I was born, and that's it. And then as a kid, I being the oldest of three, I remember I was about 12 years old, and my dad said, "All right, well, this summer you're not just laying around, you're going to work." And I was like, "What? Are you serious?" And he made me work. I was painting the fence. I was painting the fence all summer long. So he really instilled into me the importance of hard work, but also taking pride in your work, taking pride in what you
Mm.
do, because at the end of the day, if you're not giving something 150%, why even do it at all? A lot of people try to find the easy way out or the quick way to get something done. Sometimes that might work, but most times it doesn't. It really doesn't. And but
Yeah.
like when I had my catering business, I always tried to tell everybody that we are a team, from the lead chef all the way down to the dishwasher. And a lot of times, in a kitchen, sometimes the, chefs might not be the nicest to, the
Mhm.
dishwashers or other employees. Chefs tend to be egotistical, which, I'm a chef, but I'm not. Um, but I would always go to the dishwashers and say, listen, you have the most important job in this kitchen. Do you know why? They kind of look at it. And I said, because if you don't do your job correctly and take pride in it, nobody else can do their job. We can't serve food on dirty
Mhm.
plates. We can't send, glasses out with a lipstick on them. So you do have a very important job. So, I think it's all about allowing people to have that feeling of self-worth and that what they do matters and that they're recognized for it. I know that's a long answer to your simple
No.
question of who mentor, but
No, I absolutely love that because I was going to ask you in along the veins of pride, like how do you build pride and when especially on those tough days, right? Where you're hauling X amount of pounds of junk or you're in the kitchen at your second shift, ninth hour, like how do you try to maintain that pride and that self-worth even in those tough times?
so what I do is I always try to stay as positive as I can. I mean, we're always gonna have curveballs thrown at us, but it's just a matter of stepping back and talking to your team, talking to the guys that you're working with, and trying to develop the best solution. And that's what it's about. I give the guys the opportunity and the responsibility to be able to bring, their ideas to the table, to bring suggestions to the table.
Mhm.
And if it works, if it's a better idea than what we're currently doing, we're going to do it that way because everybody has something to offer. But a lot of times in the workplace, you may want to give an idea and then you can tell if someone's actually listening, if they're
Yeah.
considering what you're saying or if it's just going right out the other ear. And a lot of times it's just right out the other ear. And I think it's really important to let, people to know that you're valued and what you think matters. And I think that plays a big part of it.
Yeah. Along the lines of that, just value and people mattering, especially on your team, because it sounds to me like you just it's so apparent to me the love that you have for them and this the inherent respect. Is there an employee that you've worked with, whether in this industry or the last, that's really touched you, or a story of theirs that's really touched you still?
Uh, yes. So one of my first employees here, he's actually we've been in business about just coming up on 3.5 years.
Mm.
And he had started about 1 year in, and he had just gotten out of jail. It was not nothing major. It was like selling some marijuana or whatever, you know, nothing big. But earlier in his life, he had been in some trouble too. He spent 10 years, and um, he had come to me and asked for an opportunity. And I said, everybody deserves a second chance, which I told them all. And I sat him down and we spoke, and he was so quiet and
Mm.
reserved, and it was like pulling teeth to try to get him to speak. So the first couple of years, I was out on the truck all of the time, and I remember taking him out, and we were driving, and I said, "Okay, call the client," and he kind of just looked at me, and I said, "Just call the client. You've heard me call them. You know what to say." I said, "I'll walk you through it." And he was really nervous about doing it. And finally he did it. He did a great job. And I could see that after that phone call, he was like, oh, okay, like that wasn't that bad. And then getting to the client's house, it was the same thing. We had to walk up to the client's house and introduce yourself and the whole 9 yards. And he did it. But again, you could tell when somebody's nervous
Yeah.
and just the way that they carry themselves and their nonverbal cues. But now is amazing. He is amazing, and he's one of my leads. He goes out. He can estimate the jobs like perfectly.
Mm.
He's a great leader with the other guys. I mean, he truly is a guy that I have so much respect for him. But I'm so happy that I was able to take play a part in turning his life around, because who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened, because what I tell these guys, and they don't they haven't all done any type of time in jail or anything like that. Some of them have, but the majority of them have. If they haven't done that, they've grown up in some difficult situations, and for various reasons. So when I sit down with them, when I hire them, I explain to them that, listen, my philosophy is everybody has something to offer. And when you're young, you make mistakes. I made them. I continue to make them. I'm not perfect. But if you do the things that I tell you to do, or I should say ask you to do, and you follow my recommendations, you will notice over time that you'll feel differently. People respond differently to you because it carries out into your personal life.
Mm.
And one of the things that I had asked him, his name is Tom, I had said to him that day in the truck before making that phone call, why are you so nervous about making the phone call? And what he said was, he said, to be quite honest with you, he said, my whole life, I feel like I'm being judged. I always just felt being judged, whether it's the color of my skin or what I wear, whatever. And he said, I always just felt like I had to, be like the tough guy.
Mm.
And I said, you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. You get back what you put out. And it's just one thing that I really, really try to stress to these guys. And listen, for 50 of them that walk through the door, 30 of them end up not working out.
Mm.
But at the beginning, I tell them, these are my expectations. I'm not a micromanager. I give you some freedom, I give you the responsibility. I'll be loyal to you. All I ask in return is you to be loyal to me. It's pretty simple.
And
Yeah,
it's funny.
another long answer to your question.
No, I love this. Thank you. I love these long answers. I love the stories. And so actually something that I was thinking about, for all the work and pride that you have in working with these guys, I was just thinking, like, human beings are human beings. There are going to be some that don't work out. And so, when you said, for the 50 that you talk to, 30 people walk out, how do you navigate those? The ones that you do put the time in, and you try and you invest in them in that sense, and it doesn't work out. Like, how do you navigate that? How's that play?
Well, it typically happens quicker than you would think.
Oh,
Um, you can tell when somebody's putting the effort in, when they're listening to what you're saying, because if you're sitting there talking to everybody, trying to get a point across, or share some information, and there's somebody over in the corner on their phone, like right there,
yeah,
like, okay, like, is he really in this? Is he all
yeah.
in? Which is one of our core values, all in. You gotta be all in. If they're blatantly trying to get fired, definitely don't last long. And trust me, in the beginning with COVID, it happened with the free money that was given.
Oh my gosh.
But now, I mean, I think it happens less and less now, because I have a phenomenal team right now that I work with, and you know, it's contagious. I mean, because they're not hearing it just from me; they're hearing it from the guys. So like, they make it real, because hey, this was my situation. I started working here. I did what Nick said. My life has changed. It's not always, the thing is, it's not about, with 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 employees, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. The money
Hmm.
will come if you do the right thing and you do a good job, you provide good service. The money comes, and they see it, because they see it in their tips. I have other incentives and things like that for them,
Hmm.
and they see it, because I'm a firm believer people should be rewarded for their hard work. And I'm not a greedy person. I want to share it with them. I want to share, growing this business. One year after we opened, we won, and I didn't even know it was going to happen. We won Best of Philly Magazine, and it's not
Oh.
a publication that you advertise in and you win. I never even look at the Philadelphia magazine. And so when I got the award and I brought the plaque back and showed the guys, I said, listen, this is not me. This is for We Love Junk. And you are We Love Junk. To, with just me, We Love Junk's an idea. Okay?
Mm.
It's an idea and it's a concept. But the boots on the ground is what really makes it happen. So you guys earned this. And they did.
Oh man, that's so cool. Especially so early in your like in the company to get that award. And it's not you, you're right. It's other people who are in contact with you, who meet you and your guys.
Yeah.
I have to ask, how has this changed you? Because you when you're talking about it, there's just a sense of peace and calmness and pride. I how has this journey from this idea, randomly meeting these guys, trying to renovate your kitchen into this company, how has it impacted you?
So I'm a very different person than when I was doing the catering because my stress level is
Oh,
just, night and day. I mean, granted, running a business is stressful, but it's kind of like the nature of the beast. This, you don't have crazy, time crunches and, I mean, you do, but you don't. If you're feeding, 200 people at a wedding and the rental oven goes down, you can't go to the bride and say, sorry, the ovens aren't working. Like that's a stressful time crunch,
yeah.
right? Um, oh, the recycling center is closing at 4. We have to go there tomorrow instead of today. Oh, okay. I'll still fall asleep. Fine.
Right?
But, it allows me to spend much more time with my family, to spend more quality time with my wife. We just sent our youngest to college and I'm an empty nester now as of like 30
Um,
days, 35
yeah.
days, which is, which is great. But it allows me to just be a much happier person because I know that I'm providing a phenomenal service for people. I'm helping people and we're finding homes for their junk, but it's their possessions. Okay. Because, we don't take everything and go dump it at the landfill. We do
Mm,
everything we can to keep it out. And even with the guys, like I said, working with the guys and trying to mentor them and just make them better people and give them the opportunity to move up in this company because I'm trying to grow this. I want to franchise it.
mm,
I want to promote from within. You know, these guys helped me build it. To this point, why should I leave them behind as I move forward?
yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
That's oh man, that's awesome. It's funny you say empty nester. So I mean I still live with my parents, but my youngest brother just went off to college about a month ago.
Mhm.
And my mom is like, I still call his name because I think he's still home. And it's like it's his the season, I guess.
Yep, yep, yeah. It's very interesting. My daughter's at West Virginia University, and we went down, and my wife and we dropped her off, and I got a little teary. My little girl going away.
Yeah.
Didn't hit me until I got home, and I had to bring something that we ended up not leaving in her dorm room into her bedroom, and I walked in, and I was like, and I cried. I got to admit, I cried,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was, the dogs came in and they're sniffing around like, where is she?
Oh.
But it's all good. It's all good. It's a part of the process, right?
Uh, yeah, my mom, yeah, my it hit all of us when we were like dropping his stuff off and like going to the elevator and he was like, "Oh, I have to stay." And my mom in tears, my brother in tears. My dad and we would kind of stay on the side cuz we knew this was coming, but yeah, it hit us all. But so as you were talking about just your company and your stories and all of this, I'm so curious about the clients that you have, the people whose junk you take.
Mm-hmm.
It should, and I love the fact that there's this inherent gratitude to it because even in the way you're talking about it, like saying it's not trash, it's junk. How like can you take us through or just me through what it means when you're meeting with them, what that interaction is about? Because I've even seen on you also help hoarders, and that is just an entirely different emotional ball game. So
Oh, yeah.
just I would just love to hear more about that.
Sure. Well, so we do from a single item to an entire house.
Mm.
And every client interaction is different. So somebody may call and say, "Oh, we just bought some new living room furniture. Could you guys come by and pick up our old furniture?" Okay, sure. Can you send me some pictures? And what we do is our guys will go and they'll look at the furniture, figure out if it's donatable or not. Their wheels are turning. Where
Mm.
is this going to end up? Sometimes it comes back here to our shop and we put it in our warehouse, and until we get enough for, say, Habitat for Humanity to bring their truck and pick the truckload up. If it's in bad shape, there's a transfer station that we bring it to, and what we call them a dump or whatever, but it's not a landfill. What they do is everything that's dumped there, they sort everything. Like they'll take furniture, break it down, make a wood pile, make a pile of, like, say, like the fabric, whatever, and everything gets recycled. So we try our best to keep everything out of like a landfill. When you're dealing with bigger jobs, say somebody had passed away, the family calls, "Hey, can you come by? So and so had passed away. We need to clear the house out and get it ready for sale." Those situations are, it's emotional for the family. One of the things that we always do is I have the guys keep an eye out whenever you're cleaning a house out. For example, in a bedroom, like with drawers, they always empty the drawers out. They're not going through their stuff, but they're keeping an eye out for things like photographs, passports, anything that may be important to them, or something you wouldn't want somebody else to have. In those situations when you're going in, you don't know what maybe your mom, your dad, or your uncle had and where they had it. You might just peruse and be like, "Oh, I'll take this to my house, this cabinet or this dresser," and they might look for, sentimental jewelry or things like that. So what I always tell them is, listen, our guys will keep an eye out for anything that we think that, would be sentimental to you guys, and we put it in the corner, and you guys go through it, and then if there's something you don't want, then, we'll take it and we'll find a home for it. But then when you and they're very, very grateful for that. I mean, we have found passports.
Wow.
One of my guys found a guy who passed away, his Rolex watch, and the guy brought it right to his daughter and gave it to her.
Oh,
And you know how easy it is to pop that in your pocket and you got
right.
$10,000, $20,000 watch and walk away. But those are the things that make a difference, because you got to be honest, you got to have integrity, and do the right thing, and customers appreciate that. They That's what they want. They want to know that somebody cares, and we're all
Mm.
empathetic. I don't hire people who are not empathetic. It doesn't work. You have to be an empathetic person. And then when we're dealing with, like a hoarding situation, they're challenging because every situation is different. Sometimes the person who has the hoarding issue themselves may call, but a lot of times it's a family member that calls. So a lot of times what I'll do is, if a family member calls, I'll say, "Listen," I said, "why don't we set up a time for myself, yourself, and whoever the homeowner or apartment, owner is, and we'll sit down and we'll talk." And I sit down with them, and I'm not trying to psychologically analyze them, but I'm
Mm.
trying to get them to understand that your possessions are going to be put to good use. Somebody who needs that will get it and have the opportunity to appreciate it and or use it, depending on what it is. And that really gives them a sense of, not all of them, but some of them.
Mhm.
And those type of jobs can also be challenging, because when we're sitting there and the guys are bagging the items or whatever, they kind of want to look at everything that they're taking. But then you just have to reassure them, do you really need this paper shredder? Because you have 35 other ones over there. Let's bring it, to the donation center.
Yeah.
So it's all about, like, being patient in those situations. You have to be very patient and just, deal with it as it goes. But it can be challenging. But
I yeah,
it's one of the things that makes this job exciting, because every day is so different.
I can hear the patience. I can also hear just how on the drop of a dime, the situation can not really, not, I shouldn't say a drop of a dime, but people to people, it really can fluctuate pretty drastically.
Oh,
Um, what is one client story that you still remember?
let's see. We did one hoarding job, This was probably about a year in business. The woman had called and said, I need help. My uncle's a hoarder, and something had caught on fire. It's to the point where we need help.
Yeah.
He is willing to entertain the thought. So we had gone there. I had met with him. I'm sorry. I had met with him, and he was a Navy vet in his early 70s. Super, super nice guy, very bright, and
Mm.
had it just said, listen, about 10 years ago, I, got in a funk. I got a little depressed and just stopped cleaning up, and I could just never get myself to clean it up. And this is what it is now. To walk in the front of the house, he would use the back door. To get in the front of his house, you couldn't open the front door because there were so many things there. So we had to push it open as much as we could and just start pulling things out.
Wow.
Once we got the door open, it was about 4 feet high of junk. And you name
Whoa.
it, it was there. And there was a refrigerator right next to the front door. And he said, don't open that. It's been off for a couple of years and it was full of food. Okay. We duct taped it shut. Thank God we didn't have to take the doors off to get it out the house. But as we're going down the pile, the 4 foot pile, it's like growing because for so many years it's been compacted
Yeah.
down. So you're, taking everything and bagging it. Finally, we get to the front stairs. So this is a row home in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So row homes, you walk in, and 90% of them, 10 feet in front of you is the stairwell going up to the second floor. He had come in the house and said, "Can you guys just move over a second? I have to go use the restroom upstairs." And the guys said, "Hold on, let's clear the stairs up for you." He said, "No, no, 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 no. That stuff I don't want to go, and I know exactly where to step so I don't fall." I'm like, wow, like this, like he knew exactly where to step
Whoa.
because it was wild. As we got to the bottom, he had so many things plugged in all around the first floor. So he had those power cords and extension cords and power surge protectors. They were all eaten by mice and rats. All the wires were exposed. It was scary. We did 2 trucks that was getting from the front door to the front stairwell, and then he was done. He tapped out. Said,
Wow.
"I can't do it anymore." It was just so hard for him emotionally to be able to get rid of that stuff. And as we were bringing every single thing out, he had to look and see what it was. And there were things that he was putting aside. No, that can't go. That can't go.
Whoa.
So when we were done, we had brought those things back in for him, and it filled the space right back up. I mean, surface area wise.
Mm-hmm.
Paper shredder, a case of COVID masks, which had 10,000 of them, and he had 2 other cases on the other side of the room. But I'll never forget that client. So after we had left, I spoke to his niece who made the phone call, and I said, "Listen, we did as much as we could do. He's not ready to move forward, but please give us a call, and we'll continue to try to help." Never heard back from him, that particular one, but that's a very memorable client.
Wow. And I also just thank you for sharing something that, I mean, when you hear a story, you want a happy ending, but like that is really real. That's real. And
Oh yeah,
uh
yeah.
so honest. And there's just so much to that. I mean, doing this business now, being in this new industry and meeting all of these different people and working with all of these different people from all these different walks of life and experiences and opportunities. What has this taught you about people?
What it's taught me about people is that I truly believe that people are inherently very good. I really,
Hmm.
really do. I mean, yeah, we've come across our share of people that you just cannot make happy. It just doesn't happen. But if you talk to people, give them an opportunity to tell you a little bit of what they're going through or what their story is, and you show that empathy, people like open up. I mean, they open up because they know you're there to help them. You're not there to hurt them. You're not there to judge them. You're not there to do anything but just help them. And people respond really well to that. And I really believe now that People are people are good. People are good.
On the heels of that, I another question I have for you is, after meeting with all these people and working with all these different types of people, what's one thing in general that you feel more people need to know?
Regarding
Anything, because I you've met a lot of different
I
people, a lot of just different worked with a lot of different places. I'm so curious, just in general.
think patience.
Mm-hmm.
I think patience is something that I think everybody needs to work on their patience. We're so used to in this country, and especially in the northeastern part of the country, is on the go, 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 moving, moving, moving. Push that guy aside because I want to get ahead. I want to compete with that guy. I want to do better. I want to have a better car than my neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
But slow down. Like it's okay. Slow down. Like smell the roses. Enjoy today. Like, it's okay. It's not that deep. You know, really not. Some situations are. I get it, but a lot of times, really not. My dad always told me, and I'll never. I love the saying: if we all sat around a campfire and we all threw our worst problems into the campfire, after everybody threw theirs in, you'll take yours back.
Mm.
Because everybody thinks their problem's the worst. But when you hear what so and so is going through or the other person's going through, what you're going through is really not that bad. And that's true. It's true. I mean, we all go through struggles. That's a part of life. But it's how we deal with it, how how we get up and we tackle that issue or tackle that problem the right way. I think it really comes down to just being a good person, caring about others, and just doing your part. And I think that's what it's all about.
It's funny, you're not so throughout, interviewing people, you're not the first person who said that life is not that serious. Like you can really just kind of take it easy every now and then. And especially, yeah, no, especially in the Northeast where that's not the culture. Like everything is very serious. Like you gotta go and hustle and grind and all of that. It's nice to be reminded to take it easy every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think business in general. I think that unfortunately, most business owners and most people who run companies are all about the bottom line, all about how fast can I get from here to here and maximize my profit. Doesn't matter how I do it.
Mm.
But my philosophy is completely different. If you take care of your people and you respect your people and you're loyal to the people, that really is, in my case, we love Joan. My employees, guys I work with, and girls that I work with, you guys are the ones that are going out and providing a phenomenal customer service, doing the right thing. The money will come,
Mm.
but it doesn't need to be the primary goal. It will come, and it will just because you're doing a good job, you're providing a good service, and people are willing to pay for that. So the money will happen.
I feel like that's like the living embodiment of the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Exactly.
That feels, wow. Now I have a real life example of that. That's awesome.
Exactly.
I'm looking at the time and I have two more questions for you.
Sure.
But I have loved this conversation. I've had a lot of fun.
I've had
Um oh good. Thanks. So throughout all of this, how have you defined happiness for yourself?
How have I defined happiness for myself? That's a tough question because my definitions have changed many times over the years.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
My definition of happiness now is to try to keep, I'm so sorry, try to
You're so
keep,
popular.
try to keep not taking things so seriously, not being so hyper focused on a problem that may happen or an outcome that
Mhm.
I'm not in control of that. I got to hand that over. I'm not in control of that. Once I was able to hand things over and understand that the only thing I can control is what I do, how I carry myself, how I treat others, how I speak, and being with my family, which I adore my family. I would do anything for my family. and taking care and helping others like my employees, to me, that is happiness because it allows me to share the knowledge that I have with these people and hopefully better their lives. And it's just the way that they're able to, you know, live the rest of their lives. It's a philosophy.
It sounds so intuitive. Like, yeah, of course there are things you can't control. What are you going to do about it? But it's so hard to actually live that out and be like, okay, I actually cannot do anything about this. I need to let that go. Ah,
It's very, it is very difficult, very difficult.
but and I gotta say, it is refreshing when you're able to do it.
Well,
Well,
I'm able to do it, but hey, I'm not perfect.
yeah,
I do get in my head sometimes, but I recognize it and I can back out of
yeah, yeah. Ah, I gotta taking that for the road. I gotta learn to let things go in my personal life too. Uh, my last question to you.
it.
I
Yes.
love asking this question at the end. If you were to go back to the beginning, whatever that means for you, whether that be 10 years old at the playground or starting this business or starting the last business, what would you have told yourself?
What would you have told yourself? What I think I would have told myself, knowing what I know now, I think I would have told myself pretty much what I've just said. Like, you cannot control things. You just have to sometimes go with the flow. I don't mean sit there and be reactive all the time. You be proactive and, always move towards your goals. But if you don't hit that goal or something didn't go the way, it's okay. Get up, move forward, keep it moving forward, always keep the legs moving. And I think if I had learned that much earlier, I think that I don't think I'd be happier now, but I think that would be one thing I would change.
Thank you for that. I mean, I almost want to say I can feel the happiness, but there's just you have just an incredible sense of peace about you. So this I've loved this conversation. I really I've personally felt so at peace. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really enjoyed this conversation. I really have.